Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday and welcome to YouTube Live. I'm your host, Philip Quinn, Medium Life Guide, and I'm here with Isaac and Redfeather. And welcome to today's show. So, I hope you're all doing well. And we have been kind of MIA with our lives because of our classes that we've been teaching. And um, it was awesome for anybody who got to join the class. Thank you very much. And it was a really great experience. For anyone who did not get into the class but wants to watch it, they can go to philipquinn.com and go under classes, and you can purchase the class there should you want to view it and stuff. So now, I just want to get that out of the way. Also, for anyone that's looking for information about me or just what we do, our upcoming classes, you can go to philipquinn.com. And we have another class. Well, it's actually a course. So that's starting next Monday. Hello, everyone. It's called The Light Within. And it's 4 weeks, I believe. I have to pull up here. I should know this off, but it's a really phenomenal course that's coming that Isaac's going to be teaching. And it's about the traveling of yourself, your soul, your connection to your higher self, and how to connect. It's using the soul code. So it's quite a remarkable journey. So for anybody that's interested in signing up, or I think as Catherine mentioned, there were some slots available. Again, you can go to philipquinn.com. Today, because it's Valentine's Day, happy Valentine's, everyone. We are talking about a topic that people have mentioned to me in the past, and today's not Valentine's Day. I understand Friday coming up is Valentine's, but people have mentioned to me in the past, Philip, about the soul, and when it transcends, when it passes over to the other side, what happens to our love? What happens to the relationship, the marriage that you were in? Is it still something that continues, carries on? Or is it, that's it? They passed over, and is my husband or wife, found someone else? And, experience, just explaining this journey to you, oh, the screen keeps going dark, forgive me, is when the soul passes, so you have a loved one, let's just say on this topic, it's your spouse or, your lover, whoever. When they pass over, now they're reunited with their family. Then they've done their soul review and so on. But what about me, Phil? Is Bob there waiting? Is Mary there waiting? Or are they just do they forget about us? Well, I was talking to Isaac about this in Red Feather, my guide, for anybody who's tuning in. One, when you are connected to someone, not marriage. Marriage is a human term that we created here. But when two souls are bonded, that love never dies. So, what I mean by that is never dies. There's no disconnect. They're very much still connected to you and are waiting for you on the other side. And that's a soul connection. And you know what a soul connection is because your time together on earth is either dynamic or awesome or too short or whatever it may be. But whoever's over there first is waiting for the day that you come over. There's that portion of it. And they're still guiding and working in your life. I've done many readings where the person's lost their partner and they come through, but they're remarried. We're going to get talking about that too. And, what does that mean? I've remarried. I lost my wife or my husband, but, I remarried. It was X amount of years ago. Then there's the person who passes, but your marriage was not great. And you, the individual surviving, feels still this tremendous loss because you're so used to one another. but you could never get through to your partner to see things kind of like with your way, or even to, not your way, but hearing you out. That individual, when they cross over, they're in the soul review, so they have to go through this place called the soul review, and that means that you look back on your life on Earth, the one you just left, and how your behavior, how you seen things, what you did that was either positive and negative, and how it impacted people's lives. So you're married, you have kids, you suffer from alcoholism. Well, that's not an excuse, because there's a cure to that. And the cure to alcoholism is not drinking. I mean, it's one of the few diseases that we have that if you don't drink, you can't get drunk, and so on. But when you cross over, you see how that affected your children's lives, your wife's life, your husband's life, whoever it may be. And that's all played through. That is the definition of karma. Okay, because one of the things that I've always noticed is people waiting for karma to hit strike, meaning that when will I see that the other person is punished for what they did? Well, I remember having this long debate with Isaac and Redfeather about this, and wishing punishment on someone from the other side is you drinking their poison, waiting for them to die. Karma is something that the universe brings into the other person's life to balance the scales. And you may not see it within your lifetime, but no matter what, we all have to do the soul review. And when you go through the soul review, it's not one of these processes like you're on the other side, you're in the great hall, you're in heaven, and you're like, wow, I was a real asshole, and forgive my language, and I shouldn't have done that. It's you're seeing what you did. And I don't know if any of you have ever had this experience, but you ever had that cringe moment, like you drank too much, you said something that came out of your mouth, or that you shouldn't have, and you're just like, oh, I want to die. I can't believe I said that. My gray beard on this thing. But the soul review is very powerful, but you're not numb from emotions or responsibility. And there may be some people who say, well, shit, I'll just wait till I get to the other side rather than facing, what I got to do. The soul review can change, Isaac says. I'm getting to tell you this now, because I've been really excited to tell you about this, but I haven't been able to do it for years. If you make an amends here and now and clean up your karmic debt, responsibility, whatever it may be, it makes your soul review smoother, because you've accepted the responsibility of your actions. So we keep this in I terms. Doesn't matter what they did, it's what I did and how I responded. So should you make an amends? Should you take ownership? And you may not be able to make an amends to some people because they're like, stay out of my life, don't care what you have to say, blah, 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 blah. But if you have an opportunity here on earth to say sorry and or acknowledge what the other person is feeling or saying, it changes the process of what you're going to go through on the other side. And your evolution happens very quick, meaning that you don't have to wait for the soul review to evolve. When you do the soul review, you evolve. If you make an amends in the here and now, it changes the other person's path in a positive, and they evolve, as do you, because they're not harboring this resentment. They were cheated on by you, let's just say, and now they get into a new relationship. And now they have a trust issue. Now that person who they're dating is dealing with that trust issue, all because of one person. I digress, because this is about being on the other side and what happens. But, however, I wanted to clarify that one of the things in my readings, and I do this 7 days a week, is souls often come through and they'll apologize to the person I'm reading. And I said to myself, if you did that here and now, meaning like when you were alive, some souls truly, when they're living, are do not know or don't go digging or don't go soul searching and don't see themselves for the way they are until they cross over. Then they see all of that. But when someone's saying to you, your words are hurting me, your sarcastic remarks are demeaning to me, um, if my voice annoys you, then say it. But to be passive aggressive is hurtful. And when a soul comes through and takes ownership, I watch it change the individual. And I say to the soul, imagine if you had did that when they were alive. They wouldn't have maybe gone down the journey that you went on. So, meaning that you divorced and separated, whatever it may be, death, they wouldn't be harboring this because only you, the person that has passed and the person that is living, has the answers for what's going on inside my heart. And if your partner asks you a question and it's not acknowledged or it's diminished, like you're overreacting or you're hysterical, well, it's gaslighting, number one, but two, it's removing faith in self. Now, let's get back to this. So, your partner's passed. You're going through your grief. What are they doing over there? Are they hooking up? No, they're waiting for you. They're with their family. They're continuing on life. But what should you do? I have souls that have crossed over, like, you're not marrying again. When I die, you're staying single. But that often doesn't work. So now, Phil, I'm married, but I lost my husband in our early 20s or, late 20s or early 30s. My firstborn kid. I have my second husband. Who am I seeing when I cross over? So, should you be married, then remarry, but the love of your life is the person that's passed over? Or the love of your life is the person that you're married to, but that was your first husband that you passed? That's the person that you're going to spend your time with on the other side. It's the person who you have the soul connection with. It's the individual who your spirit has this with. So if you have a soul connection, then you are what we would call and consider soulmates. I don't really like the term, but I'm going to use it in this case. Soulmates are two individuals that have traveled many, many times over and over together. They have family, children, and the two classes that we taught. One was on signs, and the other one was really important, which was about how we come to own our chakras, what they do in our lives, and how they control our emotional, mental, physical well-being. So, two chakras drawn to each other is how we date. And the other person may have characteristics that you like, and your parents may say, just get married, marry rich, do whatever. But you don't have that deep connection. And then you meet somebody who's completely polar opposite. You would never think, but you worship them and vice versa. And that's the soul connection. And that's who you see when you're on the other side. You still can see your first husband or wife because you may want to make an amends, or you may want to talk things through, or whatever it may be. But whoever you're connected with strongly is there. Secondly, there's also something called a filler. Two people lose their significant other. Okay? We're talking about love here. And that's just the person they've lost is their soulmate, vice versa. But now I've met, because I have years left on this planet, another person, another woman, another male, and I love them and we have a great time, but not as deep as I did my first partner. And they may feel the same way. And that's called a filler. It means that two people are on this planet, they love each other, they're having fun, they're doing all of this, but they're not necessarily soulmates, but they're brought together through guides because they don't want to be alone and they still have a lot of life left in them. And they want to do something with somebody who is similar, but doesn't have all of the connections that you had to your soulmate. And what happens is, in that case, when you both pass, you'll see each other on the other side, but you're going to gravitate still and be with your soulmate. Then there's the people who lose their spouse and never remarry and never date. Whoever the person passed did not have a great relationship with them. And they don't continue to date or anything like that because either age or the relationship is so bad, the person feels like they're not worthy of anything or so on. And what happens in that case is when you cross over, you two get to straighten it out. Now, you could say you were soulmates or you weren't soulmates. Ladies and gentlemen, being the youngest of all my siblings and having the amount of nieces and nephews that I have, I can honestly tell you I've changed every one of their diapers. I have been present in all of their lives. When you come to Earth, it's a clean slate. You have your path that you've designed for yourself, the parents that you've chosen that you're coming into, and the love of your life who you're going to meet, or not. Some people sign up that in their journey they're not going to have love. It's not why they came on the journey. How you imprint on a child determines how they see the world. So, on a spiritual level, if you are giving your child your fears, and what do you mean, Phil? Well, fears being anxiety, like if you are hand wringing and you're always worrying because you have your own anxiety disorder, or telling them, young children, that stay away from this, don't go near that, these type of people are bad, these type of people are good, so on and so forth. They're taking this in, and that's how they're going to base their life on this. But what Isaac's saying is, look at your side of the street, and if it's clean and organized and properly, he says, then you perhaps can give advice to others or when you have a child. But we never want to give a child, a soul coming to Earth, a fear. If worrying worked, the world would be perfect. Worrying is a way to distract yourself from the things that you have to do here on this earth. And if I constantly worry about something, then I don't have to face what I actually need to do. So it's a distraction. So I know you all probably have a lot of questions that I'm not covering on the topic of what happens to love when it passes over. Does it still carry on? That answer in a general sense is yes. And will I get to see them again? Yes. What happens if I marry? Kind of covered that. I'm going to let you guys all, throw in with your questions. But I wanted to cover this topic because when the soul does cross over, it does see where it lacked and where it was strong, and how it affected your lives, your life, your lives, children, family, whatever it may be. So I'm going to open you all up to questions and hear what you want to know. Isaac and Feather are happy to answer these questions about what goes on. I haven't really explored this with them other than this topic, and I feel like my one friend is my soulmate, but not in a romantic way. Ooh, great question. Is that possible? I feel like my friend is a soulmate, but not in a romantic way. Is it possible? 1,000%. Where your friendship with someone completes your need for a relationship, and you speak to each other on a soul level. A soul level is this, where the person doesn't even need to finish what you're saying, you could finish it for them. Being around the individual brings light into your life. Being around the individual makes you happier than being around anybody else. So you can have a friend who is a soulmate but not lovers. But you may have been lovers in another lifetime. But you have a strong, intense connection, which is problematic, I'd imagine, Red Feather says, because you tell your spouse or whoever, oh, Phil is my best friend. They see us laughing together because we know each other so well, and da, 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 da. They may feel a little put out because they don't have that connection with you. And why that is because you and that friend have had previous lives together. Why friendship? Why love? Or whatever it may be. And there is a form of love. And, bromance is real. I say this to people sometimes that, people, if they see two guys who are like just tight and they're immediately labeled gay, bromance is real. A guy can love his best friend. Just, it doesn't have to be a female. Like, he can love his best friend. And it's a beautiful relationship. Like, that person has their back and vice versa. Same thing with women. It's not about sexuality, it's about soul connection. Why don't we remember being on the other side and writing our contract? But our loved ones who have crossed over remember being here with us. Great question. So if you remembered being on the other side, coming to Earth, and the contract that you wrote, then there would be no discovery, number one. Two, if you understood the contract that you wrote, it would be an easy breeze. You wouldn't be learning anything. Your family knows what's going on because from the other side, they're still able to see you. They're still able to look and see how you're doing, how you're feeling, if you're sick or whatever it may be. And so it's a one-way mirror. They're able to look through, but you're not able to look over. And Isaac says you would not want to remember being on the other side because it would truly conflict with the lifetime that you are living here. Also, if your previous life was 1800s and now you're trying to live in this timeline, not only are you going to remember that, and then technology now, it's going to overlap and it's going to mess you completely up. So that's why you're kind of wiped clean. You can access it. That's the class I have coming up, The Light Within. And that's what the chakras do. You can access previous lives. There's also something that happens with that. Do you ever get deja vu? Anybody ever have deja vu? Hit the like button or heart button or deja vu. Like, you're just strolling along and there's the hearts. And so why does that happen? I've never been to this bloody place. And why am I having this memory like I've been here before? Why am I having this moment? I'm in Europe. I grew up in America. Why would I feel familiar to this place? Because in a previous life, you were there. And the timelines pass over, meaning that you're now there in this timeline. And as soon as you walk into seeing this old building or whatever, and you see a garden, it energetically strikes a chord where you're like, I'm familiar with this space. I know it. I don't know why I know it, but I know it. And that's the moment where your higher self is connecting to your previous lives. And you're getting this sense of, I've known this person, I've known this place, I've known these events. And because you're tapping into your old energy. Kelly's asking, can a soulmate be on the other side and you've never met? 100%. You can sign in your contract. All right. So first of all, why in bloody earth would we leave heaven to come here, right? We leave perfection not to come to perfection. We don't leave perfection to go to another perfect place. We leave perfection to bring knowledge to a place that is evolving, Earth. And it's not going to be comfortable and cozy because you have to do your spiritual work to deliver and help other people. But if you left perfection to go to perfection, so it's kind of like this. If I left, paradise like Hawaii, sit on a beach, and went to another similar place, where people are just bringing you drinks and food and you have no responsibilities, there is no growth. Spiritual growth takes place in pain. I know, and loss, and no, and learning, and so on, and disappointment. That's when spiritual growth takes place, which, and it also allows you to depart your knowledge from previous lives, because you do kind of start accessing them and giving them to other people and helping them. But a soulmate can stay on the other side and say, I'm not coming down this time, you go, and vice versa. And you'll meet somebody, you'll marry someone, you'll love someone, but they're not your soulmate, and because they're on the other side. Go ahead. David's asking, can you forgive someone even if you don't talk to them anymore? Yes. And I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Dave, it's a great question. Can you forgive someone even if you don't talk to them anymore? Isaac's saying, absolutely. And you should. Because forgiving someone is not being dumb and looking the other way. Forgiving someone is, I no longer want that mess, their pain, the shit that they did to me to interfere with my present. So you can forgive someone without having to see them. You can forgive someone without having to talk to them. You're not squashing it or burying it. You're acknowledging what was or what is, and that it's no longer going to impact your day to day. And I highly recommend it, because carrying the baggage of the old into our present day is not only exhausting, but unnecessary. Can a soulmate reincarnate as a different type of person, like a different type of person to you, like a different relationship, parent, partner, friend, co-worker, child, etc.? So, can a soulmate reincarnate? Two things here. When you reincarnate, when I get over there, you ain't going to see me, and I ain't going to see you, because you've reincarnated. Two, the reincarnation process happens where you've lost someone, and they would have to immediately or shortly thereafter on our timeline, they can't inhabit a body that's already adult and take over, because there's already a soul in that vessel. And for them to be born, and when you lose someone, so there would have to be an age gap, which is fine. People do it all the time. And yes, that soul can come back while you're still here if you lose somebody early. So let's just say you lost your soulmate when you both met in your 20s, and 20 years go by. Now you're in your 40s, but you meet somebody in their 20s who's exactly and reminds you very much of the person you lost. That's a situation that's very possible, that the soulmate comes back under those circumstances into that vessel. So, but it can't inhabit a vessel that already exists, meaning that is alive, walking around, and they're your age. Are twin flames real? And what are they for? Wait, are twin flames real? Okay, let's just go for that part. Yes. And what are they? I'm going to go with that. So, twin flame. Everybody wants to meet the twin flame or the soulmate until you meet the twin flame or your soulmate, because soulmate, Isaac's saying, is the individual that knows you on a soul level. And there's no hiding. There's no need to hide either. A twin flame is an individual who you meet, and as soon as you meet them, it is an instantaneous gravitational mess of fire and gasoline. Because what is a twin flame? It is a soul, one soul, that splits and says it's going to have a double lifetime. So what it does is it separates, it inhabits a vessel. The other portion of the soul that it wants to evolve inhabits a totally different vessel, not related or even near each other. And when you meet, you naturally come together like two magnets pulling each other together. And it's fiery, because it's the part of you that you're like, your ass is supposed to be over there learning this here. And when you meet each other, in the beginning, it's all great, and then shortly thereafter is when the arguments start and whatever, because it's the part of you that you wanted to get going on a soul level and evolve to where the other portion of you is. So that's really what a twin flame is. I know it's a very brief way of describing it, but at least it'll give you some clarity until we get into it. Isabel, well, that's my Isabel. Do we have one soulmate, the same? Hi, honey. Isabel, I think Catherine reached out to you today, so check your email. But all right, so you're asking, do we have one soulmate the same for eternity? Great question. Never asked this question of Isaac. Correct. However, you change. One, you don't always come to Earth together. Two, you don't always travel together. Three, you change roles. So I may be the male, you may be the female, and vice versa. We don't always come to Earth. We come to other Earths and things like that. But typically, when you meet your soulmate, it's because you have evolved to a level where you're able to have a soulmate. Because all souls, new souls, start out new with a blank slate, meaning they haven't had a previous life. They've nothing to base this, so they're called new souls. That's why they're all wild and they're considered hyper, but they're really indigo children, and they're very, very talented, and they want to try everything. And then they meet another one like them, and boom, could be the connection there, or the soulmates met over there. But you don't have multiple soulmates. That's a great question. Grace, hi. Is Isaac with us each time we listen to the soul codes? The answer is yes. So if you're doing your soul code, so if you go to philipquinn.com, you'll see a section about the soul code journey, which I have not found the words to explain to people about what it is about and what it does, because it's been so mind blowing. I have not found a way of being able to break it down without you all saying, well, I want to experience that. I have no idea what your soul's going to show you. But is Isaac with you? Should you ask Isaac on your soul code journey, or the code that you're listening to be with you, you will. Now, when this first happened, when somebody said to me, Isaac visited them, I was kind of astounded. This didn't happen until the soul codes were started. And they would describe certain things that one, do not tell anyone about with Isaac. Two, other people who are very close to me know this about what he looks like and so on. And he started making appearances to people, as did Red Feather. And they would see very, very detailed things about him that I have not shared publicly. But if you ask Isaac to come, he absolutely will. What it feels like when he's in the room, the room gets very still. Like right now, this room is very still to me. It's very calming. And it's very dense. It gets very, very dense. And another sign of an angel's in the room is your mouth may dry out. I know it's really weird. And this was happening to me. Number one. And two, you feel this heaviness in the air, but not a negative heaviness. It's like it's a good thing. It's like it's one of the ways you know how you're there, because your auras are intertwining. So, but if you're doing a soul code and you ask Isaac, can you please help me through this code? He'll show. One of the things I will tell you is when you're doing a code, and because a lot of visualizations come during a code, is do not anticipate and or expect to see. Don't just throw all requests like that out the window, and just leave yourself neutral and open. Because should he make himself known, you'll know. I was about to tell you something that's happened to somebody, but I was like, I don't want anybody to have that vision in their head while they're doing their code. Leah's asking, what do spirits think about our sadness and depression from missing them, or just feeling low? Do they help us, or do they wish we would not be in heartache? One, the other side, the soul that you are missing, the last thing they want is for you to be in grief. That's why they stay around us in the beginning of the passing over process. So a soul tends to stay on Earth for several months, particularly if it's kids, if it's a sudden death, and so on, if it's a young soul, to try and get you through the grief process. Two, as far as them thinking about your depression or sadness, and they help you. They do everything that they can. People, places, things. Those are the three um, things that they can influence. I don't want to say interfere. Influence. They can bring people into your life, things, places that we go, and they want you not only to be better. God, this thing keeps closing out, Catherine. They want you not only to be better, but now I'm blind, Catherine. Oh, here we go. They want you not only to be better, but free. And they don't want you to feel that way. They want you to know that one, they're helping you, and two, they can still see you. And I know we can't see them until the soul codes were created. That's what changed everything. So it did spiritually. And when you access your chakra system the right way, you can access the other side. I've done this time and time again with people. Not one person, not two, thousands. David's asking, Phil, I'm trying to get over a breakup. I'm sorry about that. That's over a year old. It's been so challenging for me mentally. What is your advice when dealing with this? Was this part of my contract? So, Isaac, so trying to get over a breakup, the first thing that Isaac's saying is what you're dealing with in that moment. Catherine, leave that question, honey. What you're dealing with that is trying to get over. You can't try to get over. You have to accept what is. So that's the first place you start is I have to accept that this did not work out. Two, it's been challenging me mentally because you're having expectations of what could have been or what should have been. Hindsight's 2020. And is it part of our contract? Some is, and that contract would say, I'm keeping this person out of your life. Or the contract says, there's someone else coming into your life. But Isaac says to give you some guidance, start with accepting that relationship, that individual, and you are not together, not for the moment, but not together. And if you find yourself wishing that you still were, you're keeping yourself stuck because you're not accepting why it ended. It ended for a reason. Why it was on your end or their end, but either way, it ended for a reason. Do the soul codes work if you feel overwhelmed at the moment? Do the soul codes work if you feel overwhelmed at the moment? The soul codes, Isaac and Red Feather, are saying always work, regardless of your emotional mental state. You may not be aware of what you are seeing, feeling, or experiencing because you're feeling overwhelmed, but the soul code still does what it has to do. Even if you fall asleep listening to it, your chakras are still taking in all the knowledge. So, but there's no not working. The only way a soul code does not work is if it belongs to somebody else. Then it will not work. Terry's asking, can a soulmate come to you as a walk-in? Yes. So, I think I'm going to interpret that right. Can a soulmate come to you as a walk-in? So, meaning, I need clarity on that before I answer. Do you mean like a walk-in as in they come out of nowhere and then you two join and that's what starts your soulmate journey? If that's the question, then yes. Like you don't know each other on the other side, you haven't met, but here on Earth, you meet somebody out of the blue and then it begins. It can happen that way also. So if I didn't answer your question properly, maybe write it again in a different way and I can try and answer that for you. Can I play the soul code more than once in a meditation? More than once per day. So I'm not sure if you were part of the class, a class, and you were given a soul code, but whatever in the class or in the soul code journey that Isaac says to listen to, which comes from your higher self, that's what you do. So you don't listen to it 3, 5 times. If he says once, you listen to it once. If he says twice, you listen to it twice. Is listening to it more than once going to advance you, evolve you, or connect you faster? No. Is it going to harm you? No. If it's soothing to you, Isaac's saying, that's perfectly fine. You can go ahead and listen. Again, we're dropping expectations. But typically, on the soul codes, we do exactly what Isaac or Red Feather instructed, and therefore that's what starts the journey. Heather is asking, if your soulmate takes their life, where does that leave the path for the person left behind? So, if your soulmate passes before you from the affliction of suicide, where does that leave? Where does that leave the path for the person left behind? So, this is going to be hard to hear, but in your contract coming here, I want to make sure I answer this right. You would know that your soulmate was going to be struggling with um, mental illness or health issues or whatever it may be, and that there's a possibility that they may or may not be able to fight this or get through this. So, on a soul level, coming here, you would know that together, and that one of you is going to leave early. What it does to your contract is it doesn't do anything to the contract, because the contract you're still going to try and fulfill. What it does is it messes up your line of thinking and your ability to get out into the world and take on the world. So there's a freeze in the contract where you're dealing with grief, because remember, la-di-dee, la-di-da, everything's great, married, family, so forth, and then an abrupt ending to your world. Sudden death is absolutely traumatic. And people who learn or experience sudden death often say, I wish the person had been sick and then died, because I would have got to say my goodbyes. I assure you, anyone that's taking care of someone, they don't get to say their goodbyes because they're not talking about it, because they don't want to believe it's going to happen. So the freeze happens on the contract, meaning that until your grief is handled, until you find, your footing again, then the contract and you begin. But that soul crossed to the other side is still guiding you and helping you. So because somebody suffers a mental illness does not make them a bad person, does not say that they're going to go to this bad place. It's a condition in the physical vessel that it takes over, and boom, it's not the soul. There are no bad souls. Remember, what you imprint on someone is how they're going to react out into the world. Is it necessary that you click with your soulmate right away? No. Matter of fact, a lot of people who meet their soulmates are like, "Oh my god, the first few days was horrible." So you're not going to click right away, because you could be dealing with previous events from other relationships. Meaning, like, I had a bad relationship before you meet your soulmate, but you don't click right away because you're dealing with these feelings of the past and trying to get those sorted out. I mean, like, I had a bad relationship. It was violent, blah, blah, blah. Then I meet my soulmate and we don't click right away, but then we start to click and then it takes off. So it's perfectly normal. David's asking, are parallel lives real? Can you please explain how they work? If every decision we can make already exists. Does that mean that we have an infinite number of parallel lives? I guess you asked your question, yes. So if every decision that you, if every decision you can make already exists, does that mean that we have an infinite number of parallel lives? Yes. But therefore, Isaac's saying, in this vessel, in this timeline, every decision that exists, you wouldn't even know to think about every single possibility that would come out. So that part kind of gets washed out because your mind only sees what certain things that it's seen. It's not going to think of every possibility. But is there an infinite number of universes? Yes. Are there more? So is there more than one Earth? Yes. Is it different than this Earth? Yes. It could be a slight change, like there may be no illness, there may be no starvation, there may be no homeless, maybe, but there's always a reason to evolve and go to that Earth, go to that planet, go to that destination, because that's where you're going to go. Go ahead, Captain. Let's see what's over here. So, going back real quick to our topic, love never dies. As corny as that sounds, it does not. Love is love, meaning that when the soul passes over, it wants nothing but the best for its family, you, and your happiness. It does not want you to be on your own. Now, you may say to yourself, I don't want anybody else, and that's a choice, and you're perfectly entitled to doing that. And by doing that, no, it's not wrong. No, it doesn't set you back. And no, you're not going about it the wrong way. No one has a right to tell you what to do and how you're going to live your life, live your truth. But the other side is always interacting with you on a daily basis, whether it's emotional, mental, physical, health, finances, whatever it may be. They're always, always, always trying to help you. And as long as you leave the doorway open and don't have any expectations of the other side coming through and visiting you while you're at home or giving you a sign, you'll get tons of communication. Bell's asking, what happens on a soul level when you keep yearning for someone you can never reach? I'm not sure I understand that question, Catherine. What happens on a soul level when you keep yearning for someone you can never reach? I'm not sure what you mean by can never reach. So if you want to clarify that real quick, I will I can answer for you, but we'll come back to that. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a new soul on Earth, are we old souls on other planets? Ooh, great question. Yes. So, all right, Earth, we all have to come through, but you don't have to start here, but you do have to come here. So, wherever you start and go back to, you're an older soul. Even as a new soul on Earth, you still have wisdom, but you don't have a previous life to base this Earth on. But if you've been here before, you have a previous life to base your decisions on because you know what's going to happen. But if you've gone to another Earth and you come to this Earth, it's not a previous life because it's not the same Earth. So that's why it doesn't work that way. So when it comes to love always, always stays with us, never dies, and never stops loving, giving, directing. Just like as parents, we're always parents. They're always looking down on us. They're always watching over us. They're always trying to guide us. Phil, my parents sucked. They didn't like them. They didn't get along with them, so on. But when they cross over, they get to see who they are, and they try to make an amends from the other side. And they try to help you as best as they can. So also, I just want to let you know that people have been asking about a reading with Red Feather for their chakras, their aura, and their health, for people who are having health issues that they can't get diagnosis to, and so on. And that's going to be uploaded to philipquinn.com, where you can have that reading with Red Feather. And again, this is specifically for people who have taken the chakra class, 1. 2, people who are having health issues. and not sure of how to handle, what way to go. He assesses your body, what's going on, all of that business. It's pretty fascinating. It's not up on the website yet, but it's going to be within the next day or so. I just wanted to throw that out. I want to say thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for always, always keeping the community awesome and allowing people to share their questions and being free. And have a wonderful Valentine's. And remember, if your Valentine's not here and they're on the other side, they're still with you. And if you haven't met them yet, you will. All you have to do is allow yourself to meet an individual, not try. Don't try, allow. I love you all. Happy Valentine's Day. Isaac and Red Feather said thank you, and I will see you again next week. Have a great day.